Добрый день.
Good afternoon, colleagues. We would like to start our discussion. Thank you very much that you are here today with us. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ani Aslanyan. I'm the head of the project group Transfer of Technologies and Digital Economy. I would like to introduce our guests. Artyom Yermolayev, Minister of Moscow Government, the head of Department of Informational Technologies of Moscow City. Francesca Bria, Director on Technologies and Digital Innovations, Barcelona, Spain. Michael Colm, Director on Transformation, Chief Transformation Officer, Toronto, Canada. Yannick Rozov, Chief Digital Officer, Estonia. And also Anton Pirogov, this is Operational Director of Capital Branch of Megaphone Company. We prepared the video for you. Please pay attention. Switch on the video, please.
Sources, cities have to become smarter. In general, smart city strategies are based on 8 pillars: communication, healthcare, education, digitalization, housing, security, culture, and transport. But it's the exponential growth of information and communication technologies that have made smart cities a reality. Such cities invest in human and social capital, upgrade traditional infrastructure, and embrace disruptive technologies to fuel sustainable growth and the well-being of residents. Their administrators gather and analyze citywide data to reduce energy and water consumption, traffic jams and pollution, or just help people get on the right bus or park a car. But how ready are cities to implement innovative solutions? Based on regulatory, technological, social and infrastructure readiness, Moscow is 5th in the world, behind Singapore, London, Shanghai and New York. Barcelona's smart city strategy embraces the Internet of Things. It's the first city in the world to have a unified system of sensors that monitor air quality, parking spaces, and even rubbish bins. New York and other metropolitan areas in the United States are adopting smart city applications that use artificial intelligence to improve service delivery, environmental planning, resource management, and crime prevention. Globally, smart cities could lead to cost savings of $5 trillion by 2022, as innovative technologies and the Internet of Things become essential to the future success of our cities. But what's the most effective smart city strategy to implement today?
Вы сейчас видели.
You saw this video, and I would like to sum up what has been said. I think you are already aware that we are in digital economy and data is managed. All advanced countries take advantage of these new technologies and also build up their strategies to increase their power in new economies. McKinsey company says that by 2020 in the world we'll have about 60 smart cities. In 5-year time, the cities will generate 2/3 of world GDP. We understand, and also we can look at the ratings and we can realize them that in Russia this will be Moscow, because Moscow in 2011 started to digitalize the city. This is Moscow, which started to infuse these services into our life, which we now use. We use now state services. By that time, there were about 20 of them, but now there are already 200 of state services. We have digitalized the economy already. We are proceeding to smart city. And also at the level of the federation, also we have this attention. Moscow is also developing the services which we see now, and it starts to systemize those projects which are already at the stage of preparedness. We have extensive experience already, and we can see the paradigm that there is no a limit for perfection. The first question will be to Artyom Yermolayev. You do a lot of things. What is your next task? And how can Moscow surprise the country and the whole world? Because Moscow is one of the leaders of developing of smart cities. Well, in Moscow, there is no task to surprise anybody, because our goal is to make our citizens comfortable. So I will try to explain what lies in our strategy, which is now being discussed. And then there will be urban program which will be based on the strategy, and then we'll proceed from that. So the debate is going on with all interested parties. Also, our citizens are engaged. We also take into account considerations of the public. Everybody is waiting for robots, and robots will solve everything. Many people wait also for smart flats, for smart apartments, and the smart apartments also will be able to cook. There is a wish list, of course, but sometimes you can't understand it, why they need it, but they want it. Secondly, we also ask futurologists. Now we have a new profession, futurologist. Nobody knows how he looks like, but everybody wants to know the opinion of these people. So we asked them about the technologies and what solutions will be in need in the nearest future. So we also spoke with business players, and there were a lot of different segments: retail, Azbuk of Kusa, starting from retail, Azbuk of Kusa, to mobile, cellular companies. And what results did we have? We had the first draft strategy. And so I will speak about the strategy itself. So our moderator already mentioned that Moscow, made a headway on this, but we are proceeding. We discussed all this with communities, with internet communities. Our goal is right. Our goal is proper. Our goal, the first goal, is improve quality of life of Muscovites. On the basis of information technologies. We need to have good programmers, good IT persons. And the task of the strategy is to improve lifestyle of Muscovites with the help of technologies, information technologies. Secondly, there are a lot of services, and the services generate data about you, about our inhabitants, what you need, and we have so much data that people cannot analyze them because we have so many things going on in the city, and. So that's why we need help, and artificial intellect needs to understand how to do this better. For example, if we speak about street repair works, and the colleagues say to us, use artificial intellect. And thirdly, and so let's stop to cope. To fight for target audience. So just recently we had the session with the banker, and Mikhail Rossievsky was seated next to him, and so he said that his services became cheaper. And Olga Turgunova VTB Bank was also next to her, and she spoke about the new application of VTB. And I said that that I also spoke about our service, but people need something else. People are interested in something else. Instead of competing, we need to find common solutions, and these solutions, should be helpful to people, and people can have these solutions through our channels. We can shorten our expenses. We can make projects with business, and then we'll have an end product. So all strategy can be split into these directions. We have 6 directions where we can use IT. So human capital, what is it? This is healthcare, culture, sport. We'll use modern technologies in these sectors. And then monotonous, routine work will be done by the machines. And the machines will work where, it can make monotonous work. And people will have more time. And people will have time not just, for surfing in Instagram. But instead of this, people will go to museums maybe, even without leaving their homes. It's pretty cool when you can see digitalized museum made in virtual reality. You can see better than in the actual museum itself. Who was in the Louvre? When you come up to Madonna painting, and this painting is usually behind the glass, it's very difficult to really see what it's like. There is, of course, there is a bunch of people, and these people, cover this painting. And in virtual reality, you finally you can look at this picture. You can smell the paint even. And our task is to give this opportunity to each and every citizen. And in his free time, he can do this. The strategy will have 6 directions: human capital, urban environment, construction, utilities, and digital mobility, transport, and and information technology, urban economy, safety, environment, and digital government. So we made 8 technologies. This is artificial intellect, blockchain, IoT, big data, technology, 5G, virtual added reality, and computer-aided modeling. So artificial intellect will be used everywhere. And if we speak about human and social capital, this is healthcare, culture, education. So here we invested a lot in Moscow Electronic School. And here we have a competition for content. Kids get good quality content to children. And our task is the following. Each school child needs to get a customized approach. Because 2 kids studying in the same class, they understand mathematics differently. Some kids need game maybe, and some others need something else. And when we have a digital content, a teacher can choose. Machine devices can, can help. For example, Vasya Ivanov has some, problems with his eyesight, and machine knows this, and teachers maybe doesn't know. So the machines can gather this information and then can help teachers. So regarding human capital, we'll need to use artificial intellect in education. And also in healthcare system, last year we started to test artificial intellect here. So machine now can recognize the first symptoms of cancer, lung cancer, and machine now so helps doctors, and this is a pilot mode for now, so far. You know, I'm wearing glasses, and I know that people are really not perfect, and sometimes I maybe will not see something, but machine is perfect. So this is another story. These are utilities and construction. You know. So now, we could fill in the data about our meters, water meters, and this was a big advantage for us. But now our task is to make it automatic. We spoke about Internet of Things. This is also applied technology, and the goal here is to make everything automatic. So water meter would give this data to the system, and it should be automatic. How often do you have the situation when you come to a cafe or restaurant, you are speaking with a friend, going out from the car, and then you understand that you forgot to pay for the parking, and 2,000 rubles. This is a fare for you. But you know, smart city will care about you, and there will be no any problems with this memory. You know, this will be more automatic. If you parked, you should not have to get into the application. You know, everything will be automatic. But we need to find the technological solution. Internet of Things, artificial intellect will know everything about you and will know, you know, what you have to pay for. I have only 1 minute left, and I would like to say to you that the goal of the strategy is to improve lifestyle together with business. We can use appropriate technologies, and we defined 8 technologies, trained technologies, and so monotonous work, boring work will be conducted by machine. Now we can predict cancer, and of course we can substitute our officials for decision solving. You know, this will be just algorithmic function, and the machines will do this better. We can use blockchain. We can distribute this around 1,000 of services. Even if it's hacked, still the service will do this, will continue work. The strategy is about it. And 30 seconds, please. And besides 6 directions of these 8 technologies, there are also basic principles. And there are about 8, 9 of them. I would like to focus on critical ones. So a digital document should be should prevail over paper document, because usually policemen they always don't trust your license, paper license. So they check this on computer. And then digital technologies are the only way to create a barrier-free environment. Sometimes you know, with so children with disabilities, for them, this is only one opportunity to be, you know, to do something what other kids can do. And we can use information technologies. We want all people can use them. If this is a person with disability, he can also work at home, and he can get services at home. Artyom, when you spoke about strategy, you mentioned one thing. for the city and for the citizens, it's important. You give this strategy, so you give an opportunity for people to look at it in advance, and then you also consider wishes and desires of the citizens. When do you finish, this decision making about this strategy? And what about the challenges of realizing of these basic directions of activities? Are here challenges which need to be tackled? And what are the major challenges? What is needed to be done? Okay, the first one, the strategy will be adapted in winter. So not of course summer, autumn or winter. And then regarding challenges, this world, real world, so virtual world and practice, these are two different things. So when we started to test blockchain, even taking an active citizen, we can see that our expectations did not meet real world, and now so the technology itself, is not so good so far. So blockchain technology is not so good so far. That's why sometimes when you face reality, sometimes it's a disappointment. Now I would like to ask Francesca Bria. Francesca, you're the only woman speaker who decorates our panel. This is the representative of Barcelona city. Barcelona is an advanced city regarding digitalization. And why? Because in 2017, the city adapted its digital strategy. And this strategy consists of three components: digital transformation, innovations, and digital expansion of rights and possibilities. So this strategy covers lives of citizens and conditions of their lives. And big technological companies of international level come to these breakthrough cities and offer their services. Huawei, for example, this company goes to different countries and they offer their digital services. Francesca, the question to you. So you are a pioneer city. With whom do you cooperate? How did you manage to do this? What about your success stories? What can you recommend to Moscow for maybe we could scale up your best cases?
Thank you very much. Well, they just told me I have very little time, so I will have to skip some of my slides, but bear with me. And it is great to be here, and thanks to the homage to Barcelona because of the weather. It is really hot. This is what we have all the time in where I come from in Barcelona. So the digital transformation of the city of Barcelona, my role has actually been created in the government as digital commissioner. I report directly to the mayor, and the reason was because the government had to have a figure that was able to coordinate all the different departments of government and take decisions that allow digitalization to be not just about technology, but really making an impact on all the different sectors. And as we know, this is not easy, and that's why we needed to create a new government role that was able to really try to integrate all the different departments horizontally. So this is our mayor, Ada Colau. She's been defined one of the most radical mayors in the world. She's a woman and actually advocating for feminization of politics. We need more women in tech. And the approach that we have in Barcelona is very focused on what people need, what citizen needs. So instead of starting from technology, from sensor networks or from fiber or big data, we want to start from the real missions of the city, the real urban challenges, and then what people really need. So how can we make sure that technology and data can serve the people? So we have issues like affordable housing, healthcare, sustainable mobility, energy transition, fight of climate change. These are the big missions, and only after we ask, how can technology help us to achieve these missions? This is very important because we shift the focus from the technology to the real world. We're also using technology to transform government itself. So if government can use digital technology to be more open, transparent, and collaborative, we can also quicker respond to citizen needs. We've done a lot of work to create an open and agile digital transformation strategy. At the core of it is about transforming procurement. So this unsexy word of procurement is really important for what government to do. So we centralize procurement of technology, and we make sure that we can balance big firms that access to government firm, but also we can make space for SMEs and small firms, and we are bringing all the procurement online, introducing agile service delivery, and introducing the use of open and free software and interoperability. We're investing 70% of government budget in free and open source software. The question of citizens' participation is key to what we do. So we think that integrating collective intelligence of citizens in the way that government make decisions can achieve better policies. So 70% of our government plan come from proposals directly from citizens. We are running a large-scale participatory democracy experiment. It's a hybrid on online and offline democracy, and is a hybrid of direct democracy and representative democracy. We think that we are running 11 participatory government strategy in parallel on different topics. So we have our participatory democracy platform. It's called Decide in Barcelona. This is actually free and open source software that we use to run these participatory approaches, and this is a public-community partnership. So this has been developed together with our developers communities that help us to maintain the code and add new features. So what can citizens do? Citizens can make proposals, they can support proposals, they can organize meetings, they can do large-scale debates and deliberation, they can do participatory budgeting. All the budget of Barcelona is open budget. We're using open data to make really transparent how we spend money, what salary we get, and citizens can decide also the allocation of budget on district per district. So we are making this bigger. And we are creating open data visualizations about all these policies so that also journalists and developers can build on top of that. So at the moment, we have over 10 participatory processes. This is on urban planning. For instance, Barcelona has a project, it's called Superblock. We are closing 18 districts of the city to traffic in order to create more green space and in order to fight, climate change, to have better air quality and less pollution. And this participatory urban planning process has been co-designed together with citizens, urban planners, designers, and architects. We have participatory budgeting. The mobility plan of the city has been made together with citizens. So citizens decided on a new mobility, on a new bus lane. Bicycle path, we have increased of 3 times in this mandate, and citizens were the one that suggested where the bikes had to pass. And then we are introducing citizen initiatives and collaborative legislation so that citizens can make proposals that get voted into parliament. So here you can see some of the numbers. We are trying to expand this participatory approach to government because we think that designing the future city and the future digital city, it is less about technology, it is more about redefining the relation between government and the citizens and making sure that more and more government can become open and collaborative so that we devolve more power to the people in the way we take decisions. The way that we use visualization can help citizens to debate about what matters to them. For instance, affordable housing or new mobility plan or the question of a new plan for jobs and the economy. Citizens can visualize the proposal and then we can inform on how to make better proposal. So that's why we're really investing on this open data and open visualization. And then you can see how proposals are visualized district by district. So if you look at the data, it is not just young people with digital skills that engage, it's also older people, it's also people with socioeconomic differences. So we try to make sure that all the different neighborhoods of Barcelona are involved. On top of that, we are trying to introduce new technologies in our participatory democracy platform. We have a big project that's blockchain for data sovereignty. Why data sovereignty? Well, first of all, data is the new raw material of the digital economy. Cities are aggregating 90% of the data that didn't exist 3 years ago. So we think that data is a new meta utility, a new public infrastructure that belongs to cities and citizens. So that's why we're integrating a distributed ledger infrastructure with cryptography on top to say that basically it's the citizens that can decide what data they want to keep private, what data they want to share, with whom, and on what terms. And so the participatory democracy platform will have a blockchain-enhanced solution so that citizens can sign petition in a secure way, and because it's distributed, they can also control the data themselves. Our objective, we have built a Barcelona Now service, which is artificial intelligence driven for assistance for citizens. Why? Because we can aggregate data that come from sensors. I mean, actually, Barcelona have a very large Internet of Things platform. It's called Centillo. It's all open standards. It's been used by many cities. So you can see data coming from parking slot, from water metering, from noise and urban waste management, with the data that come from the participatory platform. And then we can give recommendation, AI-based recommendation to citizens based on what matters to them, but with privacy and security. So basically, we want citizens to have their rights over their data. This is our data analytics urban platform. It's called CityOS. So that's on top of our IoT network and our participatory democracy platform. And this is all open stack. It's all open source. And that's because we think that government are starting to work with machine learning and artificial intelligence application to create future data-driven services. And we created the data analytics office that's in the mayor's office with a new team which has this kind of data-driven skills that can help us to take more evidence-based decisions. So this is our vision for a data-driven city, where, as you can see, we want to create city data commons. What it means is really understanding data and technology as a new meta utility, a utility that we run on top of transportation, roads, big infrastructure, energy infrastructure. And this data utility, we can regain control, so we need data sovereignty. We have to put citizen at the center and make sure that they feel comfortable exchanging data, and then unleash all the talent of the innovation ecosystem, startups, small companies, bigger companies that can collaborate with governments to build the future solutions that are going to be data-driven and that are going to have AI built into that. And for this reason, and I'm not going to go into detail because I don't have time, we have created an urban innovation lab. And the urban innovation lab, what it does is experimenting new public-private partnership with small companies and innovative companies that can participate in government procurement and can use the infrastructure and the data of the city to build new technologies. And in order to do that, basically, we need to invest a lot in education, create the new skills, create the future jobs, because this is a digital revolution that will automate a lot of production, will displace a lot of jobs. So we have to create the next generation skills and the next generation jobs that will help us to make the digital city for all the citizens and really for the many and not for the few. So this is our strategy.
Франческа, спасибо.
Thank you, Francesca, for your presentation of Barcelona case. Here's my question. You stated correctly, it's a fact that we are living in the data economy. We're living through digital revolution, and data are like the new oil or the new raw material. You mentioned that you had a project about processing this data. Do you know how to monetize this data? How do you make money out of that data? Do you make money out of the data at all, or do you simply collect it or process it? Can you tell us about it? This is the case for us as well, and let's think about that in Russia. What do you think? What do you know about that?
Very interesting question. Well, first of all, what we are doing now is we are introducing clauses in government procurement contracts. So we are investing a lot of energy in centralized technology procurement. And the clauses are about data sovereignty. So what we say is that no matter what governments procure, can be can be energy contracts, waste management, can be new urban services, the data needs to be transferred to the city hall in machine-readable format because this data belong to the citizens of Barcelona. So this is the first move of the cities to make sure that they can have the data as a new infrastructure so that the data can be controlled. On top of that, as you know, Europe has a very advanced legislation when it comes to data protection of citizens. It's called GDPR, it's the new government data protection regulation. We hope that actually we can extend this to all Europe, beyond Europe as well, because what it says is we want to make the most out of data, but we want to guarantee that we have data rights for people so that they can preserve their privacy, there can be ethics and security. We use a lot of automated decision, a lot of AI. We need to make it sure it is fair. We have accountability in the way we use it. And on the monetization, we do not want to monetize personal data. We want to make sure that the data belong to the people and to all of us, that this is a common ground on top of which we can build future services in education, in healthcare, in transportation. And then every company, it's a level playing field, every company should be able to tap into the data to build advanced solutions. So we don't want a digital economy that's going to be very centralized and monopolistic, where only few firms can have all the data and train their artificial intelligence engine. We want to be a broader thing. We want the industry locally to be able to provide solutions that are alternative to Uber or Airbnb and so on. So we don't want a concentration of power when it comes to data. We want to democratize the data and making sure that we have local industry that's strong enough to compete in the digital economy world.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you. Now let me turn to Yannick Rozov from Estonia and Chief Digital Officer of the country. Estonia is among the leaders of digitization of not just Europe, but the world. Based on what you did last year in your information field, how you attracted resources through blockchain and cryptocurrency. And now let me ask you how you get these great results that you have. You do a lot with digitization, residency project. Tell us about your story of success. Good evening. It's a pleasure for me to speak Russian. I don't use Russian too often, usually speaking English. I only have 2 slides. The first one is about our principles. As you can see, as previous speakers, they kept talking about human beings. What we do this for, we do it for people, so that you can lay in the grass and read your books without thinking which bureaucratic agency you need to go to for what kind of heavy-duty services. I don't want to care about that as a human being. I just want to be efficient in finding the solution. And as someone said here, so that the government could somehow predict what could happen to me and in advance support me with certain services. But for that, you need some basic principles. In our country of Estonia, we have a great debate going on with the Ministry of Justice, with the Department of Data Protection, with the with the Chancellor of Justice about this, whether it's individual approach or profiling. This is something new in our situation. We want to understand how we can trust somebody else, a machine, our data, so this machine could be making a decision instead of me or helping me to live. And where we went, where we got on the way, we need some kind of third person. We have physical entities, we have legal entities, And we are about to have a digital entity. If we believe that machines can calculate something themselves and offer something to us, it's their decision. And we need to put some responsibility on those who decide. The programmer who developed that progress cannot decide. That's a brand new cluster of problems that we are trying to resolve. In terms of technology, it's simple. There are many different programming tools that help us. But legally, what about if we have two autonomous vehicles, they collide and then a dog dies or suffers? Who is responsible for that? Or that's a brand new, a totally new approach legally that we need to focus on now. This is what we call digital ethics, and this has to be resolved together. Francesca mentioned free movement of data, and in the EU debates going on, we have 4 freedoms or liberties in the EU capital, workforce, and so on. But there's no freedom of transfer of data. If I could go to Latvia or Finland, it's not enough for the bureaucrats to check if I have the right to drive a vehicle. I need some kind of paper, some kind of certificate. But we are a free Europe. Why can't we exchange data? I think we need to do that. There was a question why we were able to do it in Estonia. We had to survive. We are a small country with a population of 1.3 million. Half of the country is covered with forests. To be efficient, this was the only way for us to start exchanging information within the country in such a way so that we as data owners would give it only once. This once only principle is very important, is a key element. In other words, that the government does not ask you twice for your data. If somebody gave some data to the government once, it's the problem of the government to get it from another agency. If some other ministry wants it for some purpose, that's a very important principle which is stated on the legislative level, which says nobody has the right to create a new register for the data that already exists in some other register. These registers need to exchange data. Where it leads to, well, we only have 3 services that cannot be done electronically. You know which services are those? You cannot wed electronically, logically. You cannot divorce electronically, and some real estate transactions are not possible because you need a third party that would check bona fide intentions of the parties when they sign such a contract. And most importantly, for me, which was approved in the early noughties, we have this ID card, not a paper-based passport, but an ID card with all the codes. And that's the key to all services, not just government services, not just municipal services, but also to bank services and telecom services. We have one infrastructure which we use to exchange data. That's a very important element. And of course, internet is our social right. It's open. Everyone can use it. We make jokes sometimes, even in our forests we have internet, and they ask us, why you crazy Estonians want internet in the forests? Well, Estonians love picking mushrooms and berries, and they want to check whether mushrooms are edible or not. And you also get a Christmas tree in a forest, cut it down, pay for it, and bring it home. And that's why we need internet in our forests. And now it's about future. Estonia, during our presidency in the EU, we had these driverless buses a couple of miles in the city center where all the meetings took place. We had no incidents. One cyclist got hit a bit by one of such buses, and it really worked in our situation. We have robots delivering mail. As you can see in the picture, everything is here. The future is here. If we talk about data, we have zero bureaucracy program where government needs to ensure how you get data in the future when two legal entities are talking to one another without any additional red tape or reporting. If two actors open data for the government, it has to be very smooth for these entities. And real-time economy, we have a pretty good project. If a small business opens an account for the customs or tax department, when they pay salaries for their employees, all taxes are automatically incurred or added or deducted. It works automatically. And we have to be mega efficient as a small country and cut out the unnecessary bureaucracy between the government and every individual, focusing on the needs of this individual. Yannick, I have a question. What's the role of big business in your digital strategy? And when I talk about working with data, in your system, you seem to have no problems exchanging data between different ministries. At the regulatory level, you resolve this, right? And also, you mentioned your robots delivering mail. Is this a third-party company or is it your own in-house? This used to be a startup, and then they did something else, and the government supported their project at a certain stage. But this was the initiative of business, because eventually many such jobs will disappear. That will be highly automated. You don't fight with like what Trump does with Amazon. Since post office of the US is losing income, well, posts or mail offices of the world needs to switch to new services. For example, in Estonia, they are active as a commercial company, and they run electronic accounts. They focus on the new opportunities without building barriers or trying to preserve how we lived yesterday. We want to be innovators, and we want to live tomorrow, not yesterday. As you can see, we have most advanced and progressive cities, and we have the city of Toronto among them as one of the most advanced cities. In Toronto, we have Vitalik Buterin, a Russian-born Ethereum founder. And what's happening in Toronto, that's a big case, and the world-class subsidiary of Google is building the smart city in Toronto, and they want to upgrade their transport and infrastructure, affordable housing and protecting private life. We have Michael here. What else is in the pipeline? What else are you preparing that others lack in the world? What could you surprise us with? Thank you.
Very much. So obviously, we're really excited about the Sidewalk Project. That's the name of this project that we've teamed up with the sister company of Google is called Sidewalk Toronto. So Sidewalk Toronto is a development project, and we're going to try to develop a smart neighborhood and make it really a test bed and an innovation center for smart city technology, smart city ideas, smart city methodology. And it'll change the lives of people who live in that community. Of course it will. And it'll change the lives of people who live in other communities. But what's really more important about the Sidewalk Project is it gives us an ability to really test the effectiveness of our platform and really test the effectiveness of how we're operating the city in terms of enabling the city to become smarter. And I'm going to talk to you about not necessarily so much about the projects that we do, but what is the city's role in becoming a smarter city? Because a lot of these things are going to happen whether we get out of the way or stay or not, right? Connected vehicles are coming. Autonomous vehicles are coming, for example. Just a few points on Toronto. We're recognized, just in case you don't know, we're recognized as really the center of business, finance, and some would argue culture and arts in Canada. We are a rapidly growing city. I think our core challenge, and it's a good challenge to have, is that we are growing so rapidly. We have 100,000 new people coming to our city every year, and for a city of 2.7 million, that's just a massive amount of growth. Diversity is great. We have people coming from every country on earth. We speak, I have a service delivery center where we speak 150 languages to provide services to the city, to the people and the citizens of Toronto. But being diverse isn't enough. You have to be diverse and inclusive, right? You have to make sure that all of those new residents and existing residents are able to access opportunities on a level playing field and in a smart way. So we're really quite focused on really becoming the most intentionally inclusive smart city that we can. And we've heard a lot today, so I won't belabor the point around, smart is about the citizens, is about people. And I think we all agree with that. And I think it's good to keep stressing that because it wasn't that long ago we were at these conferences, some of us, and we weren't talking a whole lot about people. We were talking a lot about technology and data and how we're going to get there. We weren't talking about why we're going to get there and how we're going to measure the effectiveness of that journey and who really is going to benefit from that. So we came up with a model, a governance model for our smart city initiatives, which is really that inclusion is at the center of it. So we actually have a committee structure and a decision-making structure that any technology project, and especially smart city projects, if it can't provide a measurable benefit in terms of economic inclusion, social inclusion, or civic inclusion, then we're just not going to do it, right? So we have lots of people coming to us with transportation ideas and lots of people coming to us with ideas around how we should deploy sensors to achieve all sorts of things. We're going to deploy a smart city that is only focused on creating a more inclusive society. And I think it's important to come at that, really with the right kind of priorities. So obviously, to make the society more inclusive, we need to focus on some of these opportunities. I think we've heard about a number of these opportunities. These are sort of the 8 big ones in Toronto today. We have, not unlike Moscow, I think, quite a traffic problem. We've underinvested in transportation infrastructure over the last 30 or 40 years, and we're rushing to catch up. But we want to catch up in a smart way. Again, it's not about building subways for the sake of building subways. It's about which neighborhoods, what's happening in those neighborhoods, how are people accessing the last mile of transportation in neighborhoods where that's an issue, where economic inclusion and where sort of civic involvement is lower, and really focusing our transportation on that. And I could go through all 8 of these, but it's really trying to do projects and think about projects that are really focused on inclusivity. We are doing a lot, and we've mentioned the Sidewalk Toronto project. We already have probably hundreds of smart city projects on the go. Something that we're quite proud of in Toronto is our digital literacy focus. We pioneered in Canada a digital literacy day, which we hosted just a few weeks ago. And this is really an opportunity, and I think we've really actually created a dialogue in Canada around what does digital literacy really mean to people. And when you think about what I was saying earlier around having 100,000 new residents every year, you really have to be intentional and deliberate about how you include those residents in the digital economy and in the new economy. Because if you don't really focus on that, then they actually struggle to integrate into the Canadian society because we are such a digital, new economy. So I mentioned earlier, the Sidewalk Project is interesting. We've got lots of other development projects and lots of other smart city projects. But what the Sidewalk Project really allows us to do is focus on these 8 enabling streams. And I won't go through all of them because I think a whole bunch of them have been talked about today. But really, we see the role of the city not necessarily to implement every smart city project or make every technology decision or make every, build every platform. We're going to do that through partnerships. We're going to do that through a very open procurement model and so on. Our role is to create the conditions that a smart city can thrive in, right? And then let it happen. And we believe, the reason we're making so much progress over the last couple of years is because we've focused on really enabling that platform and companies like Sidewalk are interested in coming and working with us because they can see that the conditions are right for executing on a smart city vision. So these are really my focus in the transformation office is really putting these sort of foundational work streams in place and making sure that we're 100% focused on removing as many barriers and removing as many obstacles as we can and letting the natural organism of a smart city basically thrive on its own and not be a barrier to that. Lots of interesting things coming down the pipe. The federal government in Canada this year ran a Smart City Challenge. Some of you may have been familiar with the Department of Transportation Smart City Challenge that the Americans ran a couple of years ago that Columbus, Ohio won. We did a similar thing in Canada. The conversation is really starting. People are getting engaged. We've had hundreds of public meetings. We've deployed platforms for participation, similar to what Francesca was talking about in Barcelona. So we're pretty excited about these. And these are the projects that we chose to actually go and execute on based on our filter of inclusion that I mentioned earlier, but also what were people talking to us about and what were people interested in us doing. So we're pretty excited about some of this work. Okay. That's
Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, we have just a couple of minutes left. I would like to make a conclusion. Today we've heard about best cases of smart cities, of world cities, and the capital of our city, of our country, is also on top rating. And inhabitants of the city also get better life, and Moscow and other capitals and other cities can also integrate this experience, especially involvement of inhabitants into these technologies which are infused now into the life of everyday people. Thank you very much, all participants and organizers.